Okay, so as you know, if you watched the last video on atmospheric electricity, I crashed my Hexacopter down in Florida, videoing an atmospheric electricity power plant installation. It was a pretty epic crash, and as you can see, it's left it busted up pretty good. Now the 3D printed top that I had made for it survived quite well, but the machine itself is completely busted up. And I'm getting ready to rebuild a new machine. I'm going to build one of these Hextreme 550 FPV Hexacopters. And my buddy here in Tennessee actually builds these. So this is manufactured not only in the USA, but right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm going to go ahead and build this one up so that I can get back to doing some atmospheric electricity experiments with the Hexacopter and also some of the video shooting that I need to do. I need to use the Hexacopter. Now, a few things I can tell you already opening this up. Most of this looks to be pre-soldered. That's really useful. That's going to save a lot of time. On this unit over here, I had to, solder all the wiring harnesses and stuff. It took forever. So I'm already liking the look of the pre-soldered parts there. Here's the arms that run out to the motors. Oh, look at that. This is very interesting. So on the motor arms, I can see that the wires that come out to the motor, these go out to your motor and they come back to your speed controllers. They're pre-wired down the boom of the arm that goes out to support the motor. I really like that. That's going to look really clean. I also noticed that the bullet connectors are pre-soldered with heat shrink tape around them. Again, I had to do every one of these bullet connectors by hand soldering. So I'm not going to document every step of the build on this. I'm just going to build this along. If there's any surprises, I'll probably document that. This video is really just a quick review and a quick update. I've been really busy lately and woke up early this morning to get a little time to actually build this kit. But this looks to be a very, very complete kit. I see it's got all the props, the hardware, some stuff to solder. You got your motors here, so you've got the 6 motors, and in this box over here we've got the dome for on top of the whole thing. So anyway, like I said, I'll document any surprises. It looks to have great building documentation here, so I don't expect to run into any issues in that respect. And kind of a neat little update, these guys are designing a new Hexacopter right now, and I'm helping them with the 3D side of that a little bit of 3D printing and 3D body design. So anyway, let's get this thing built. Okay, so I just noticed an interesting thing here. There's 2 assembly configuration choices. One of them they're calling the X configuration, and that's been the one I've generally been using with my other frame, but in this case it has 4 landing gear in this configuration. They're recommending this configuration if your primary use is FPV flying, sport flying. If your primary use is aerial photography, they're recommending this configuration. And this is the one I'm going to go with, and it's the configuration that it starts with, but apparently there's 2 sections in the manual. One section for building in this configuration, one in this configuration. So I think that's kind of neat. It gives you a couple options in how you want to configure this. But we're going to go ahead and begin with this configuration right here. It's got 3 landing gear instead of 4. Nice wide area for aerial photography. And because aerial photography for my videos is my primary use for this rig, I'm going to go ahead and start with this configuration. Okay, so I've got the basic frame well underway. You can see that these are all screwed together. At this point the screws are loose. The manual said to leave them loose until everything was lined up, so I'm getting ready to tighten these down. But yeah, fit and finish on everything is very, very nice, and I'm really like having the wires come through the inside boom. Let me show you what I did on my other Hexacopter and you'll see why I'm impressed by this. So my other rig, the wires, I had to kind of weave through the arm here, and you can see the arms are really big and fat. That's going to provide a lot of air resistance, not be nearly as efficient. Okay, so a couple things I want to point out. I'm really appreciating the way all the hardware is marked. So you've got these little bags, and on the bags you've got marked exactly what they are, and they have a corresponding reference number in the manual. So far that's been very useful. The other thing is I'm moving along here, I just mounted the power distribution board. And I just want to point out how much I appreciate having all of this pre-soldered. This can really take a lot of time to create something like this yourself if you're building up your own frame from scratch. So again, excellent build quality on all this, excellent fit and finish, very nice part, and loving all the pre-soldered connections. So anyway, let's carry on. Okay, so I figured out what's going on with the difference between the mounts and the top plate here. The way I've got this set up right now, if I am to mount this, it will actually line up the orientation this way instead of in line with the boom. And that's because there's some wider holes here in the top frame, and apparently this orientation is important. It was kind of hard to see in the manual, but this orientation, I believe, will dictate the proper orientation for the camera mount plate up here. So I've been looking over the manual and I can see the orientation on the larger holes now that would have lined up my battery compartment correctly. Now right now you can see the larger holes here, the smaller one here, and then over here, and that would put it facing in line here, and I want it in line here. So this whole thing would need to be rotated. It's a lot of screws to undo. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to widen the holes here on the other side. So I'm going to widen the appropriate holes to allow me to mount this correctly. I've looked through the manual. I don't think that's going to cause me any issue, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now I've got the battery compartment connected up and all the orientation is now correct. So again, very important point that you take note of these small holes in the rendering, and notice that this top plate has a specific orientation. Okay, so as you can see, this is coming together nicely. I'm really liking the look of it, so I'm going to go ahead and just finish up the last steps. Got the landing gear on. So yeah, apart from that one little mix-up that I did by not noticing the subtleties in the hole sizes and the orientations, it's gone together very, very smoothly. So I got it put together, and this is the first test flight. I don't even have the dome on yet, but I can tell it's really stable. Very nice machine. It's a little quieter than my other one. Okay, this is the Hextreme 550 FPV machine from Hextreme Copters, and they're a locally made product here. They're made in Nashville, Tennessee, so very local for myself. Anyway, got it completely built up now. It was a very easy build, apart from one little thing, in that you really have to notice the holes on the orientation on the top plate. Apart from that, it was incredibly easy to build this thing up. It's got everything pre-wired. I think the only thing I had to solder on this build was the battery connector. I use a XT60 battery connector. I think that was the only thing I had to solder, as I remember. It's got LED lighting already set up, ready to go, that you can unplug or plug in here on the sides. It has some extra plugs as well for plugging in things like your camera or video transmitter. So I still need to outfit it with a brushless camera gimbal. So I'll be mounting that up here in the front. I already have my FPV transmitter right here, and I've got the antenna coming down the leg here. I liked how clean that was. So yeah, overall I'm very happy with it. It's a very clean build. You'll be seeing footage from this rig in my upcoming videos. So, as well as experiments with atmospheric electricity harvesting. I also have an experiment which I want to try to trigger lightning using a hexacopter. It should be very fascinating. So yeah, follow along on my channel and let's all keep experimenting.